Let's talk anime! Hello and welcome to Brandon's Discuss Anime, the Reckless Amoeba podcast. I am your host, Brandon Horvath, and with me are my co-hosts, Brandon Falinger.
Blood. There's so much blood. Why is there so much blood?
Special kinds of blood. Also with us, Ryan Stokely.
Ahoy, hoy.
So, I'm just going to say this now. About 2 weeks ago, we ran super far over during banter time, and Brandon had a discussion, and I'm just going to put it in right now.
Oh, that's great. So, we had decided to have a D&D game when we weren't at the con.
Uh-huh.
And, I popped my D&D cherry here. And I popped it in one of the best ways possible. So, let me paint a beautiful looking picture for you, alright?
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you about the whole thing. Basically, there's three separate things I'm thinking of offhand right now. But the first one is that we got led into, this king's chambers in order to, get an audience with him so he would tell us what the hell he wanted us to do. We got left alone, and I'm like, all right, I'm a gnomish ranger. I don't like being in here and not having a way out.
A gnomish ranger.
Yes, I was a gnome ranger. I did not like being in there. We all started at, 6th level, too. We got into this thing, and, the giant-ass doors closed behind us, so I'm like, I don't like being in here and not having an exit, just in case things go south for some reason. So I'm like, I'd like to maybe go into stealth so I can search around. Fail the stealth roll. Immediately, we had a second ranger. The party wasn't exactly balanced, right? Our second ranger, who was an elf, basically immediately turned on me with a crossbow pointed at my face. He's like, what the fuck are you doing, gnome? I don't like not having an exit. What do you want? Jesus. There's a crossbow in my face out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Then it's we got our orders and shit. We go to get supplies. We're talking to this merchant. Apparently he looks like some old guy with a tattered old cloak on. And every time he gets money, he tries to tuck it inside what should be a pocket in his cloak. But instead it just rattles to the floor. If there is a pocket, it's just falling through a hole in it. But he doesn't notice it or care. So I'm like, I'd like to go stealth again. This time, I hit it pretty hard at a 23 or something. Sneak around, go to grab the gold. I have to then do a friggin' sleight of hand check. I get a 13, which winds up costing me in that a cat literally flies out from underneath the guy's cloak and attacks me. So I get 15 gold, but I've had a cat attack my hand. And it causes the guy to notice what I'm doing. I'm like, look, it was just a cute cat. I wanted to pet it, It's nice. Didn't realize he was gonna bite my hand off. As I pocket the gold quietly, nobody paying attention. And then, probably the best part of the campaign, and the newest invention I have created, whenever we killed an enemy, we got to decide how the kill went. Mm-hmm. So, on the first floor, I think we had 3 ghouls or something. Yeah, it was definitely ghouls, because of the term I came up with. So, I ended up killing the final ghoul, and what I decided was, alright, I fire my arrow from my short bow, it severs the head. The head is now flipping through the air with the arrow slightly lodged in the skin of it. And it lands, also, let me point this out, too. The elf has been nothing but a fucking racist the entire time toward my gnome. Alright? The other members of our party are human. So, it's 2 humans, an elf, and a gnome. And this freaking elf has been racist toward my gnome this entire time.
Was the elf Tristan?
No, Tristan was not there.
Oh, that's surprising.
I know. Basically the entire time I felt attacked. So, I decided to do this. So, anyway, the head of the ghoul is flipping through the air with the arrow partially lodged into some of the skin of the neck. And I had the arrow puncture, part of the elf's armor so that the head of the ghoul is just hanging upside down looking like it's giving him a blowjob.
Oh.
I have now coined the term ghoul jobs.
Ghoul job.
I have now giving people ghoul jobs.
Oh.
Now, and when we got to like the 4th floor of this tower that we were climbing through, I did it to a fucking demon lord. And I'm like, what kind of reaction does that get? I say to the GM, and she just looks at me and she just goes, yeah, the DM just looks at you and just goes like a what the fuck kind of look. I was just, no, you know what? It makes this even better. So the first time I did the ghoul job and it was on the elf's armor, there was like this big statue in the center, right? Of like this goddess kind of thing. And he starts praying to it. And I start losing my shit. Because he's never said he's removing that ghoul head from his armor. So the entire time he's praying to his goddess, he's got a ghoul over his groin. Just like giving him a blowjob. And I was losing it the entire time. It was so beautiful. Oh, man. It was so great. I loved it. Also, I had a giant badger named Percival. He was quite nice. Love it.
Boy, that was an interesting discussion. Okay, and back to today's discussion. Brandon, as a follow-up from 2 weeks ago, you were going to bring something up about a certain director or something?
Yes. He was director. His name's Brian Newton, who did both Teen Titans Go and Rick and Morty.
And
I could do two things that are so opposite on both the spectrum of good and bad. I have no fucking idea.
And he looks so much like our mutual friend Tristan.
Yes. And in fact, let me go ahead and give you an image of this man. Put that right in there. Piece of crap looks just like him.
He
Just like
does.
Just like him. It is
Oh my
weird.
god, he does. Why? Why did you do this, Tristan? Why did you have an alternate identity for this?
He's been writing under a pen name this entire fucking time. And he's just done it to fuck with everyone.
God damn it, Tristan.
Like, the only thing I think this guy has over Tristan is that I think his hair is slightly different, which, with the beanie on, you can't tell, because Tristan also wears a beanie. And the fact that I think he's taller than Tristan. Like, I think it's just those two things, and that's it. But otherwise, they're like fucking carbon copies, and it's scary.
Oh my god.
Man, it's so weird. So weird.
I'm just trying to comprehend, like, what does he find in both shows that he likes to work on?
Probably the money.
There's that.
It's probably just straight up the money.
He's not even caring he's ruining one of the best action franchises from mid-2000s Cartoon Network.
Should we just do an episode on that at this point? Should that be a new podcast?
Raging on Teen Titans Go.
More like celebrating the original Teen Titans, but at the same time shitting on Go.
Did I tell you the story about, I think it was a debate tournament I was at, and it was like Saturday night, I'm just flipping through the channels, and I'm like, oh, Teen Titans, awesome. My roommate for the day comes in, like, are you watching cartoons? I'm like, it's Teen Titans. He goes, but it's cartoons. I'm like, but it's Teen Titans. And he goes, okay. And something happened, I forget what, and my friend just looked at me, you're right, this is good for a cartoon. And I'm like, see?
Like, and I'm pretty sure when you I forget if this was on, like, podcast before or not, but you did mention, I do remember you mentioning this to me. And I think I brought up the same problem where it's like, the concept of animation for America and, like, more Western audiences seems to be, it's either child programming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's man-child programming in the terms of, like, you know, I'm going to go with Family Guy in that case. Or The Simpsons, even.
I wouldn't think that Bob's Burgers is man-child, because my dad also loves Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, but the point is, it's an adult cartoon, but it's a raunchy ass adult cartoon. Like,
I don't think Bob's Burgers is all that raunchy.
maybe it's on the lower end, but my point still stands where it's like, it's for adults. There's literally no in between. Like where Teen Titans, I feel, would come and hit that point. Or even at one point or another. Like, there are some that kind of get real close to that point, but because of just the ingrained idea of society, they don't. They don't push as far as they should. Like, I'm fucking just going to mention it, even if we will get to it eventually, but Avatar The Last Airbender does that, where it's like, there are some real dark moments in there that if it wasn't a kid's TV show, you could really make it dark. You could hit those points of like TV and like N17, if you wanted to, even though most of it is lighthearted. There are episodes that will hit that real dark point.
I think it's MA.
Or even MA, it doesn't really matter. But MA would also mean strictly adult as well. But point is, like, you hit those points, and it's like, this is real fucking dark, man. Like, this is like real lighthearted until now. What's happening? It's the problem I have where it's just there aren't enough animation shows where we get that broad variety. Like, Japan doesn't seem to care. They're willing to jump on literally, like, they're willing to use animation for everything if they want to, right?
Like today's.
Like today's. Like, they'll hit the entire spectrum, but for us, over here in the US, and even I think in Europe, and for the most part, you hit that point where it's like, well, it's for, like, kids maybe, 10, 12 at most, all the way back to, like, 1. And then you go and you hit, like, your Family Guy and stuff later, where it's like, it's just a comedy now. Like, there's no serious thought put into the story. It's just, what makes a good gag? Now you can make arguments for South Park, where they're just literally commenting on current events, which, it's got its place and it's interesting and I like it, but it's not a long story arc or anything.
So, anything else we want to discuss?
Telltale shut down. Telltale Games shut down.
Yeah.
And it didn't go well.
Shit.
So,
like, it literally dropped out of nowhere.
So does this mean we won't be getting a continuation to the Batman?
Nope. Literally, they shut down, like, I think it's been like, 2 weeks now? Maybe 3? And the story is still technically developing because they have lawsuits on their hands right now. Oh yeah, no, terrible working conditions, apparently. Like, to the point of, like, constant crunch time to get shit done. What I've seemed to have gathered so far is that they did really well on The Walking Dead Season 1, which catapulted them way too far, way too fast. And because of that, they tried to do stuff with other IPs that people were throwing at them. Didn't end up going as well as The Walking Dead, and as such, they were kind of bleeding money. To the point where they had a deal with, I believe it was Lionsgate, that they were going to be working with. And when Lionsgate pulled out, they had no money to work with at all. Like, they were completely bankrupt. And that means they're cutting off employees without severance.
Game of Thrones, Minecraft, Batman, lots of big names.
Yeah, that's the thing too, right? They got to the point where they were churning out 2 games a year.
Yeah,
and that's way too fast. Like, that's shoving things out the door without quality.
For such a small studio.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they grew way too far, way too much, way too fast. Like, they had no idea how to handle it.
But if it's something like Capcom that's putting out 2 games a year, since Capcom is a much bigger corporation, 2 games a year...
Capcom's like a producer. They own different studios. Like, Telltale's a single studio.
Oh, I thought Capcom was a production company.
Production. the same thing.
Oh wait, never mind.
They own multiple studios,
Okay.
whereas Telltale was a single studio that worked on its own.
Oh.
It was a studio in and of itself that owned itself. It wasn't owned by a parent company or anything.
Yeah, I know saying Capcom and a lone indie studio are two different things, but...
Yeah, they literally laid off, I think it was over 250 employees, and they were going to keep on like 25 as a skeleton crew to finish up whatever this Netflix thing they had going on at the time, but even that seems to be cut now. Plus, employees have filed lawsuits against them for terrible working conditions and all this other shit. And getting cut without severance, that's the big one. Which, from what I understand, California, there are like, there is an excerpt in there where it's like, if you could have never known this was going to happen, technically you can do this and it's fine. Like, if you never knew that you were going to be bankrupt like this. However, California doesn't have that stipulation in that law, which is where Telltale is centered, which means they might get real screwed. Or at least the CEO and whoever else owns the company, along with them, will get screwed. It's a shame, too, because from what I understand, like, people... The other problem is, like, people saw through the formula that Telltale had going on, the whole, well, here's your choice, and it goes in two different directions, but really it's just gonna merge back together by the end. Like, your choices don't exactly have much in the way of substance. Like, honestly, if I'm gonna... I think Batman Enemy Within was probably the one that did the most variation. And even then, it still ends with the Joker being your enemy. Or if he has a style change.
I thought there was an option of the Joker being a hero at the end.
Still doesn't end that way.
Oh.
Like, he can either become a vigilante inspired by Batman, or his normal villain roots.
Oh, so it's more vigilante than...
Yeah. But even then, by the end of that episode, or that season, it still lines up with him being against Batman and not seeing things the same way. It still ends up with him as your enemy, either way.
Oh, I understand now.
The only real difference you get, I think, is just the style change and maybe his reasonings. But otherwise, it's the exact same scenario. I know Tales from the Borderlands is supposed to be one of their best from a story standpoint, just because there's constant jokes being cracked. How do I want to put this? So, here's basically what it is. You're a bunch of shit people in Borderlands, whereas all the heroes are doing the amazing shit around you.
So, let's get into today's main topic.
Sure.
Today's anime is Deadman Wonderland.
Ryan, what you got? I want to see those gears clicking and a-clacking.
Deadman Wonderland?
Yes.
Sounds like a almost like Nightmare Before Christmas.
I mean...
But it's more dead thing than the Halloween Town shit.
Uh-huh.
Like, bodies hanging from everywhere. Maybe they have like an auto zone, but it's like for dead people. And they just drive around skeleton cars. Oh man.
What are the tires made of? Skin?
I'd say like whale bones. They're pretty round.
Are your car seats made of like tanned human leather?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe like the steering wheel will be like a head.
You just grab the ears, turn this way.
But well, and the road is like made of fucking dicks or something. But
ouch.
Every place is basically like it would be like a grocery store, but for dead people. I don't know what they would eat or have at the grocery store.
Souls?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Either that or it's like a spaghetti western anime.
Well, have you ever seen Super Jail?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, except far less druggy.
Okay.
Because our main hero, Genta Igarashi,
Ganta.
Ganta?
Yes.
Ganta Igarashi is a middle school student whose class is murdered. His entire class is murdered by this red man.
He was just
Oh.
floating outside the third floor.
Yes.
Does he have a friend named Method Man?
I was going to bring that up. No, he is not the rapper.
Okay.
He's floating
Really?
outside the school, and this red man murders his entire class, leaves Ganta alive for some reason. And due to the court system, everybody thinks Ganta murdered them all, so he is sent to Deadman Wonderland, a prison built within an amusement park.
Privately owned prison, by the way.
Privately owned prison. And, oh boy, there are some interesting things, like competitions that will kill 90% of its occupants.
The fuck?
Yeah. Oh, it gets better. They all get collars put on them that inject them with poison. And the only way they can live is if they use the money inside the prison. Yeah, if they use the money inside the prison to get candy, which is basically something that looks like a jawbreaker almost, that's wrapped inside, the fancy little foil. However, it tastes like shit, because it's the only antidote to prevent the poison from killing you.
And this candy needs to be taken every 3 days.
Otherwise, the poison buildup kills you.
That's so weird that you need diabetes to beat the poison.
There's not enough sugar in there. It makes it taste awful.
Sugar free.
Yeah, sugar-free candy. See? That's what makes it terrible.
And Ganta, along with some other occupants of the prison, can turn his blood into a weapon.
Let's also point out the fact that this is another one that's like the manga's better.
Yeah, because the anime, ends.
Yeah, there's no season 2. It ends, and it's only gotten through maybe 40% or so of the
40-ish.
manga. And that's still with them skipping out on major characters that come into play later.
Because there was something like an attempted prison break at the end, and he's like, oh, okay, everything's back to normal now. And I'm like, wait, this is how we're ending it?
Yeah, they're still in the prison. They didn't escape, even though there's a big hole in the ceiling right now.
Huge hole in the ceiling, where the Ferris wheel is visible.
Also, we should point out that nobody, except for like the highest levels of the people that own the prison, know about the blood powers. Like, there's a secret sectioned off area called G Block where they're all housed that nobody knows about, other than those that are higher up and those inside it. But yeah, blood powers, yo.
Oh, I remember seeing part of this anime.
Oh,
Like
okay.
literally once, the blood thing.
So, if you remember anything, do you remember the main character's voice?
No.
Oh my god, it's not good.
On the chalkboard.
It's not good.
The dove voice is awful. It is fucking nails on the chalkboard.
Who does the voice of it?
Great
Really?
Heirs, of all people. And Greg Ayres had some good voices from what I understand. Interesting that he would do something so screechy.
Yeah. I wonder if it was the voice director that decided that, because, like, you ended up watching the sub. You watched the Japanese.
Yes.
And Greg, the voice for the dub does not sound anywhere near what is in the Japanese version.
I mean, Ganta is a bit, and just a bit whiny in the Japanese dub, but not to the extreme the dub does.
Nails on a chalkboard. Like, it is awful.
And he has this supposed friend within the prison that he supposedly knew since childhood, but he can't remember who this person is.
Oh, yeah. That is completely explained in the manga, by the way.
Why he doesn't remember her?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
I mean, if you don't mind me spoiling it, I am more than happy to.
Go ahead, spoil it.
So, you know the whole incident that they called the Red Hole? Yeah, Ganta was at ground zero with that. And it traumatized him and ended up, his brain, in order to cope, forgot. Same way that happens with another character later on in the manga, or the anime that we saw.
Oh.
So yeah, it completely blanks it out for him. Hell, they even mention it, like, right at the start, before his entire class gets murdered. Like, the guy friend that was with him, I forget the guy's name, but he goes like, yeah, not all of us can forget what happened at the Red Hole, like someone here.
Shiro is perky?
Yeah. Huh.
Very.
Literally, she's exactly the same way she was 10 years ago.
So that
He
was,
last saw her when he was 4.
So that was her coping mechanism to remain perky and childish.
Again, I can spoil exactly what's going on here if you want me to. It's not a defense mechanism. Not the defense mechanism. It's not her way of coping with it, with the incident. No. Something else happened that triggered that.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit later on, because I think I may know, but when we get to the point of this, so he encounters other blood users in G Block as he's trying to find the Red Man.
Yeah, the guy who framed him, because he gets framed for everything. So, you know, he wants to get revenge on the Red Man for killing his friends and his class. And his classmates, you know? Seems reasonable.
And he first meets... Does he meet Owl first?
What? He meets Crow.
Okay, Crow, who can make Sykes claws from his arms.
Technically any part of his body that's got a slit in it, but yeah, he tends to have them come out of his arms. After all, you do remember him using Invisible Black.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, that one came out of, like, the upper side of his hand.
And they have this fight every now and then for... Is it for the prison to enjoy, or is it for the outside prison? Like, for the park to watch?
Little column A, little column B. It's not for the park, it's for, like, people that like blood sports. So think, like, the Dark Net and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
They view it, they put their money down on bets and stuff, I assume. And then when you lose, that character then goes to a penalty game. Whoever lost, right? And they end up getting a roulette on which body part are we going to take, so that way we can experiment on you and see what the hell's going on.
Whether it's your kidney, your leg, your eye.
Your stomach, literally it could just be an arm, a leg. Whatever body part is up for grabs, really. And, you know, sometimes they'll be nice and outfit you with, like, a robotic limb if you lose a leg, so you can keep fighting for them.
Except it was one guy in a wheelchair.
He could have refused the leg, I guess,
Okay.
if he wanted to. But that's an option, I guess. Either that, or it could just be straight up a crippled, like, since birth. Like, he could be a paraplegic, like Joe from fucking Family Guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, he actually broke his back or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, point is, like, he could be stuck that way from birth.
It's been on for so many years, there's so many explanations on how he broke his back.
Yeah.
But the first explanation was him chasing a robber.
The Grinch.
No, he was chasing the guy like that was robbing somebody.
Yeah,
Jumped
yeah.
over a wall, slipped, and like broke his lower back or something.
Mm.
Yeah, I do remember that episode.
Dude, the Grinch Wait, does he like bust the Grinch or something?
And I think, like, the Grinch fights him, throws him off the roof, and causes him to break his back that way.
What?
That's the only one I remember.
But, yeah, basically you lose a part of your body if you lose in the cage match.
Oh, okay.
Also, they never get into it, but I can tell you Senji's backstory, which, you know, that's Crow.
Okay.
He was an ex-cop.
Oh.
He was originally a cop, and I believe what ended up happening is that, if I'm recalling correctly, I believe what happened is that he ends up killing his partner by accident in order to try and, like, save him.
Oh.
Like, his partner gets in, like, a hostage situation, and I think he triggers, like, his blood power, which is called his branch of sin, by the way. That's just kind of the overall name for the blood powers. But I think he triggers that when trying to save his partner and accidentally kills him instead.
Ooh.
Granted, he does kill the guy that had him hostage, but the blade kind of goes through both of them.
Oh, and can we talk about the sweetest, most innocent character, Hummingbird?
Minotsky, the hummingbird.
Yes. So sweet, so innocent, so psychotic, so creepy.
You were telling me how you were just taken in by her at first.
Yes, I'm like, oh, she's going to be another sweet, innocent character who God will befriend and they'll work through this hell together.
Yeah.
No! She is so psychotic.
She gets off to people having despair on their faces. Just seeing the hopelessness of people. Also, her blood powers involve making whips.
Out of her
blood.
hair?
Out of her blood. She uses the hair, I think, as like a way to hide it. So that they don't see it coming. But yeah, like, her ear piercings, like, are enough to like draw blood, and she uses that to whip people with it. Thus it hides in like her braids and stuff. Actually, speaking of which, here's the interesting part that I've always been curious about. Apparently, once the blood is no longer like
Flowing?
connected, I guess, to the body, it's no longer useful. Like, if your blood is splattered somewhere, you can't just use that blood again for anything.
But if your limb gets severed, you could somehow use it?
I guess? I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess because it's still in his body at that point, maybe.
But how could you send brain signals to your severed arm?
Look, they basically explain that there's some kind of parasite in the blood called the nameless worm that allows it, and it's apparently magic. I don't remember exactly how the mechanics work.
Magic in a thriller anime. Interesting.
Like I said, I don't remember how the mechanics work. I'm just going to call it magic until I understand.
It's metachlorians.
Oh, Christ, no, not this. It's S cells in Saiyans.
Oh, God. Oh.
Got enough S cells, you can go Super Saiyan. It's
Not Z cells. Who else is there?
I know you loved Minotsuki. She was the greatest. As she's literally ready to murder her brother and use him as a human shield.
And then he says, like, oh, So you are evil. You killed father.
Yeah, because she killed her own father, and because of the way she had things set up, her brother thought he had been the one that killed him with a knife. No, she used her blood powers to, like, literally slit his throat, like, as the knife was coming down, and she did it fast enough that he didn't quite see it. But, you know, she's got a terrible backstory where her mother, you know, didn't save her, but instead saved the flowers next to her. There was an earthquake going on, and she got, like, trapped underneath all this debris. So, you know, she's got a sad backstory. Explains why she has she has trust issues.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, by the end, will she be less psychotic?
Short answer, yes. Manga answer, no. I mean, technically, yes, less psychotic, but still fucked up. Still real fucked up.
So you do know how the manga... No, you said you were only on chapter 14 of the manga.
I said I was flipping through it to remind myself of the differences.
Okay, so she doesn't fully mentally heal by the end of the manga.
I would say no, she still has that fucked up side. Now, like, could she, you know, suppress that and walk back into society? Yeah, probably. But that side's still inside of her at this point. Like, that's probably not going away.
Oh, so she's tsundere now.
Yes. Which means you should like her.
But I don't.
You should like her, though. She's tsundere. She's your type.
I am more for Shiro in this.
Oh, you want to go with the one who's just constantly causing mutilations everywhere. Okay.
Through happiness.
No. No, not through happiness, no.
Oh, so I think I was right.
Oh,
in
were
my
you?
thought.
Please. Do you want to go forward at this point and try to explain? Or do you want to hold off with her a little longer?
Yeah, just a little bit more until we start talking about her a little bit more.
Oh, man. Well, we could talk about Owl next, I guess.
Who has orbs of blood that explode.
Ooh.
Yeah, floating blood bombs.
And if you get the reference, they're all birds because they're trapped in the cage of Deadman Wonderland.
It's the whole analogy of you're not free, you're a caged bird.
Oh.
By the way, Ganta's power, I don't think we mentioned it, is just straight up, I can shoot a bullet of blood. That's his power.
They're like straight up murdering people.
Oh yeah, he could. Depends on how hard he wants to fling it. He can control the velocity.
Near the end of the anime, he gains that ability to change
Push
the
it past.
velocity.
Well, no, he had it. It's just he managed to gain the power to push it to supersonic levels.
Supersonic blood.
Yeah.
Gotta go fast.
I was gonna say that's the new OC Sonic character.
Blood?
Blood Sonic.
Blood Sonic, yeah.
Isn't that just Knuckles?
No, Knuckles has 4 penis heads. He's in a kid.
Oh, okay. Penises that just slap him in the face when he runs too fast.
God. Oh God. So yeah, Owl's kind of fucked up in and of himself because he had a child, right? With another dead man. And he and his wife decided they were going to escape, and before the child was born, his wife was murdered. Along with the child.
And he keeps a pendant of his child around his neck, which is empty.
Yeah, no pictures, nothing. It's blank. Because the dude is suppressing some real bad shit.
Well, I guess if you have a baby with a dead man. Is Owl a chick?
No, Owl's a man.
Owl's a dude. His wife was unnamed.
Dead man.
Yeah, that actually, sorry, I don't think we ever said that, but dead man is actually the term for all the people that have blood powers.
Man or woman.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think that's how that works, especially even if somehow that would work, they're
Yeah.
dead. So
Well, that's the thing too. Everyone in this prison is on death row, hence Deadman.
Gotcha.
And Wonderland, because it's a fun amusement park.
Where you can find your blood sports underground.
Yes.
Oh, that's fun.
And wait, what was the big race called?
There's like the dog race or something like
Oh,
that.
Yes, and that had like swinging guillotines.
Normally it doesn't. Our lovely little guy up top was like, let's turn up like the death rate to like 90% or so.
And that's why I'm thinking he's a bit of the warden from Super Jail, who's always happy about people getting murdered.
Well, the dude's got a child's mentality. Like, his entire office is just littered with, like, 6-year-old children's toys.
Much like the warden. Oh.
But, like, he puts on his I'm a super serious businessman look whenever he's talking to someone important, but otherwise his office is just a child's playroom with a desk in it.
The fuck?
And he wants to become the sole owner of the prison.
Yeah, which he's not. There's an old man that owns the prison. That's the actual owner. But I'm assuming that this guy, Tamaki, that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
He'll own it once that guy's dead, if he doesn't leave a will to give it away somewhere. And said owner is like bedridden and in like the point of near death.
Oh, okay.
So he's also ready to die soon.
So you find out there is a rebellion group called the Scar Chain,
Mm-hmm.
who is trying to bring what the real Deadman Wonderland is like to the outside world.
Yeah, show people the blood sports and the blood powers. Then, people will be like, no, that's wrong. Set them free.
Even though these are all dangerous, dangerous people.
Yep.
Like murderers and shit.
Yep. If they weren't framed.
Which it seems like some of them are. Well, they were set up to be killers, some of them.
I think the original reason Ganta was set up to be framed, because Tamaki comes in and literally represents him as a public defender and ends up getting him framed. Like, solidifying him getting framed. And I think it's because of the fact that, the red man that he saw was technically from Deadman Wonderland, and they don't want that secret getting out. And since he's the only one that witnessed him, well, you gotta take him in and then eliminate him if we can. Because he saw things he shouldn't have.
Oh, okay.
However, the fact that Ganta then develops his own, branch of sin, blood powers, what have you, that means we can make him into an even better toy. He'll be part of the blood sports.
The Carnival Corpse.
Yes, Carnival Corpse.
That sounds like a band.
Yeah, or if you listen to the dub, the Corpse Carnival,
Huh?
which, both work either way. I like Carnival Corpse better just because you can
Black
kind of,
metal band.
replace that with, a different version of the word corpse.
Yeah,
But,
that does sound familiar, like I've heard it in passing.
Cannibal Corpse.
Okay.
Probably.
That might have been it.
That's the band.
Okay.
But, yeah. So we also get one other main character, Kurako, which shows up. This woman who's got the ability to basically harden her blood into an almost armor-like protective thing. Which is really interesting to me. She even uses it at one point when she's bleeding out in order to stop the blood from flowing. She hardens her own blood so that way it doesn't keep coming out of her body.
Oh shit.
And since this is your blood that you're using, you can run out.
Yeah, anemia happens. You've only got a limited amount of blood. So for someone like Ganta who shoots it out of his body and can't get it to go back in, it's a severe risk on his part. But for someone like Crow or Kurako, who could just kind of just reabsorb it at that point, yeah, not as much of a threat.
Is there anybody in the manga, since you said there's missing characters, that also can have projectiles?
You know what? That is a very good question. In Owl's case, Owl technically does because his turn into bombs and leave his body.
Okay.
Let me actually see quick. You can cover this up with some kind of banter in between, please.
So this had 12 episodes from April 2011 to July 2011, which is kind of weird because I really think the opening title card said copyright 2010.
Usually copyright is filed like ahead.
When the manga started or something? Or?
No, the anime. The manga went from 2007 to 2013. So granted, the manga wasn't even done yet when the anime was going on. They could have had a second season, but nope. It just ends after a jailbreak, and then it's like, oh, that's how we're gonna end it.
Okay, the one guy I showed you before, who's transgender, who isn't in here, has an ability that allows him/her to create like up to six spiked icicles of blood, essentially.
Oh, blood icicles.
So yeah, it's her actual name is called Peacock. That's her bird name. But yeah, she can create up to 6 spiked projectiles. What about the old man? What ability does he have that was in here? Oh, he was called Condor. His blood is flammable.
Oh.
His blood is basically napalm.
Ooh.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, he technically, yes, he would also have a problem with anemia.
Interesting. So supposedly there's a dark side to Shiro?
You could say that. Shiro, whose name means white, and she's in a white bodysuit with white hair and red eyes. Essentially, she's a, what's the word for it? When you're pigment.
Albino.
That's it.
At first, for like a minute, I'm like, wait, why is she naked?
Yeah, no, she's not. She's just got a bodysuit on.
Yeah. But once they showed her from the front, I'm like, oh, that's a why is she wearing that?
Why not? I assume it's a preference? I don't know. She doesn't wear anything else.
And she does have a preference for kicking people really, really, really hard.
Yeah. She seems to be, like, super built. Like, in terms of raw physical power.
For being a petite 14-year-old girl.
Yeah. Wait, is Shiro? No. Yeah, Shiro would be 14. Yeah, they were the same age.
Yeah. Oh, what was it called? Like, Necro Marco, who is a... Macro, who is a robot security guard. Another Super Jail well, not reference, but that reminds me so much of Helper from, Venture Brothers.
Venture Brothers?
Yeah. Just the head shape.
I never got into
Oh, wow, that thing isn't, So she has, like, that neck piece, right? And I always thought that was, I thought that was just, like, a big metal collar. Apparently, no, it's a neck warmer.
Oh.
I thought it was a metal collar.
So, supposedly, she is I don't think they got into this much in the anime, but she's also called the Wretched Egg?
Yep.
And what exactly was that? Is that like some dark side of her? Wait, hold on. Is she the Red Man?
I mean, you saw her put on that mask.
So she is. So the Wretched Egg is the Red Man.
Yep.
So, why did she kill all of Gonto's classmates?
Well, I kind of want you to think this through, actually. What possible reason could she have for doing that?
She wanted to see Ganta again.
Yes, that's part of it.
What kind of bird is Ganta?
Hummingbird. Or no, sorry, not hummingbird. Woodpecker. My bad. Woodpecker.
Okay.
She wants Ganta to kill her.
You looked this up, didn't you?
No.
You're not convincing me.
Yeah.
No, because knowing the type of person Ganta was as a child, she knew Ganta would want revenge on the Red Man, because didn't the Red Man costume look like Ace Man?
Yeah.
So,
Wow, you're hitting all these points, but you're still missing the big one.
because of that, she knew Ganta would want revenge and therefore kill her. I don't know where to go from here. I can see the finish line, but I'm so exhausted, I can't take another step.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Alright, so here's the thing that the anime will never answer because we're never getting a second season, alright? What you don't see is that during the time, like, when Ganta and Shiro were, like, 4 years old, Shiro was essentially a test subject. And Ganta's mother was one of the ones going along with these experiments.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is that her body is constantly deteriorating, from what I'm understanding, if I'm remembering correctly. Mm-hmm. And, like, you know all the scars that are along her body when you get to see underneath the bodysuit. Mm-hmm. Apparently her body just kept, like, deteriorating, and they needed to sew it back together each time. Hell, there's even a point where her arm falls off in front of Ganta, and that it had to be sewn back on. Nanomachines, that's what it was. There were nanomachine experiments. And I believe that's what creates the blood powers, because she is technically the first Deadman.
But she doesn't have a number.
Yeah, because she's numbered, like, she's patient 0. She's the one that nobody knows about.
Oh.
The Red Hole incident was her. When the Red Hole incident happened, those nanomachines / parasites / whatever you want to call them, the nameless worm, got spread. Those that got infected with it became dead men as well.
Oh.
So, here's what basically happened, right? Because these experimentations were so painful, it got to the point where, you know how in the flashback, right, where Ganta basically says, you just call Ace Man and he'll appear, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what happened during one of the experimentations with Shiro at one point. She started calling for Ace Man, and what happened was her personality broke. One side became the Wretched Egg / Ace Man. She calls the other personality Ace Man. Everyone else knows it as the Wretched Egg. But she ends up being the half that takes on all of the pain and shit that would ever happen during those experiments. And as such, eventually it got to the point where she triggered the Red Hole to stop all of the pain. Now, because of that, Ganta gets sent away. So neither the Wretched Egg or Shiro ever see Ganta again until she finds out where he lives and decides to bring him back. To Deadman Wonderland, so that way she's there. Now, technically, in part, the Wretched Egg was birthed because of the fact that Ganta instilled the whole idea of Ace Man into Shiro's head. So, I believe in the Wretched Egg's mind, the idea is, well, he helped to bring me into this world, he needs to kill me. Because for her, existence is pain. Like, that's all she's ever had.
Does she love him at all?
The innocent Shiro side that never grew up does. For the Wretched Egg, it's a bit more complicated. Like, yes and no. It's weird. Like I said, she wants Ganta to kill her. To, like, end the suffering permanently. Yes and no. It's a very complicated setup with the Wretched Egg. Let me put it this way. By the end of the series, those two personalities refuse together again. So you have Shiro and the Wretched Egg once more as a single personality.
Interesting.
So it gets even more strangely complicated.
I will have to read the manga now.
Yeah, there's also another character that's like Yo that isn't a Deadman that shows up in there and is a major character. Also, they kind of hinted at it too when the main doctor and Takami were talking to each other, but they can create Deadmen by injecting people with the nameless worm.
And is that how Ganta got his powers? Because Redman shoved a crystal in his chest in the first episode.
It's not the same, I want to say. I believe that the nameless worm that Takami and the others are using is a synthesized version, whereas the one that Ganta got is straight from the source.
Oh.
Also, how'd you like Toto? We didn't really mention Mockingbird at all.
Not enough development for me to get a good feel of.
Do you want me to spoil something for him?
No?
Because, I mean, there's a reason he's there. And there's a reason he's been missing for all that time.
Was he down in Africa?
No. He was not.
I was gonna make a similar joke.
He was not. He was not in Africa.
Where was he?
He, in fact, was being turned into a puppet, so to speak. Let me put it this way. The warden, the original owner, isn't actually dead. Even though we saw Takami using his head as a bowling ball.
Oh.
There was, let's just say, a transplant of sorts.
Interesting.
I mean, you kind of notice it when he mentions that he doesn't remember his own name at first.
Yes.
Brain transplant?
Yeah, what was that, Orion?
A brain transplant?
There you go. He put it together.
Oh.
But Mockingbird's ability is basically, if I drink your blood, I copy your abilities. Not appearance, abilities.
Oh, he's like the Kirby.
Yeah, he's like the Kirby. He drinks your blood, he can now use your branch of sin. Whether or not there's a time limit on it, I don't remember.
Interesting.
Also, he was one of the main scientists that was working on Shiro, along with Ganta's mom.
Now I'm really going to have to read this.
The manga's better. That's this entire month right now.
Yes. Also spooky anime since it's Halloween coming up.
Spooky and dark.
Spoopy.
One or the other.
Yeah. Although next week's is a little bit more lighthearted than this.
Yes. Far more spooks.
Yeah.
Far less severe blood loss and death.
Yes. So,
Orion, you gonna want to watch this one and how fucked up it is, or maybe read the manga instead?
I might watch it. I think I probably watched a episode by accident at a friend's house.
yeah.
It's only 12 episodes.
12 episodes, yeah. Yeah, it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just another one to the list.
Yes. Now you'll have to go back, read the episode titles, and go, okay, which ones sounded the best, and start with those.
Oh, man. So,
Yes.
we,
I think you said you wanted to do the teaser?
yes, I do. So, Are we ready?
Yes.
We good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Excalibur, Excalibur, from the United Kingdom, looking for heaven. I'm going to California. Excalibur. And that's all you're getting.
Oh my, I think I know what you're getting at with that.
I don't know. I totally didn't show you a certain facial expression that's just horrifying.
Oh my god. Oh, lots of weapons. Lots of weapons. Oh
so
my
good.
god.
It's so stupid and I love it.
Yes, I started watching this prior to this episode recording, and I think this will be a fun, spoopy time. So, until next week, where we turn the serious style all the way down to a maybe 2, 1, and the fun factor way up back to normal levels.
There's dark points in this one.
Oh, there is.
Oh yeah, no, there's insanity.
I'm gonna look forward to next week.
Okay.
So, until then, laters.
Bye.
See you.